Ana Oli Pop Rock Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Rock Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hits från Sverige och vi lyssnar till Pop Rock Radio med Jamie Roxx.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Pop Roxx Radio Talk Show. I'm your host, pop art painter Jamie Roxx, and this is the big show. You found it. I sure am glad you did. I am very excited for today's episode because we've got a very cool guest. For those of you who have been listening to my audio podcast for the last couple of years or whatnot, you know that once a month or so, more if we can, I like to dip my toe, metaphorically speaking, into the paranormal, the strange, the unexplained, if you will. And we've got a cool guest in that realm today. Well, I'd like to welcome Miss Nancy Thames. Nancy, how are you?
I'm wonderful, and you nailed my last name. Congratulations. You're one of the few people that gets it right.
Just like the river, right, in London?
Exactly, yeah. I've been called a lot of things, and sometimes not even pertaining to my last name.
Come on now. Come on. You seem like a very nice and sweet Southern lady that has had some, that have seen some things.
We're very friendly, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, I have. I've had quite an eventful life. I'm 64 years old, and I am a lifelong contactee with interdimensional extraterrestrials. And,
wow,
I have started at birth. This has been going on, and my first conscious memories, I can reflect back to 2 or 3 years old, and I recall them coming in my room and feeling, at that point in my life, nothing had influenced me. It simply was what it was. I had no reason to be scared. They made it fun. They were loving, and they, went out of their way to make it fun for me. So, and I can remember telling my mother and father, there's little beings in my room. There's beings in my room. And they would just say, they thought it was funny. They would just thought it was a child's imagination. And they would tell me, go back to bed. You're having a very vivid dream. Go back to bed. So, I just brushed it off as they did. But it continued to happen, not every single day, but pretty often. And really, it wasn't until, say, junior high or high school age, at this point, the world around me started influencing me. I started reading books at the library, reading books at bookstores, looking at magazines while my mother was grocery shopping, trying to find out any information about these things. And I realized from what I was reading that other people didn't have the same opinion or experience that I was having. And that made me question myself, made me question, like, well, maybe I don't understand all of this, So the world around me changed my perception. And when that happened, my experiences changed with the interdimensional extraterrestrials, because before, as a little girl, I didn't notice the frequency exchange between human beings and extraterrestrials. And, I just thought it was part of the playful fun process and stuff. So as I got older, they've always given me a notification, more or less, which is the frequency in my body will start to change. And it's about maybe 10 minutes, something like that I know that they're coming. So that gives me time to mentally prepare myself for the experience. So but when I reached that age in junior high school, I started having fear, started having anxiety, started wishing they weren't coming, because everything around me was telling me it was either demonic or a mental health issue, or was it real? It was all this negative thing that I was reading and hearing. And my parents had told me when I got to this age, it was fun and good for us to have our topics about the world above, the universe, and what we thought. But growing up in Tennessee in the Bible Belt, and my father being a public figure in radio business, a radio announcer, also the owner of a radio station within a community, county, and these things would not be well received. So he's point blank told me, you cannot talk about these things because it is the Bible Belt, it is the South, and people consider these things demonic, or they put you in a straight white jacket and take you to a mental place. They don't consider it. It is, and they don't even like to really talk about these topics. So I learned very quickly I could not talk about this, and I suppressed it. But the experiences changed because for me, it's never been what they look like. It is the frequency exchange that you have between a human being and an interdimensional. When you have face-to-face contact, their frequency is much higher than a human being. And when you're there, they emit a frequency and you feel it. It overwhelms your whole body, and your brain has a hard time processing it. And it's the best way I can explain it is like extreme fear mixed in with an euphoric type feeling. And it's hard for your brain to understand and comprehend. So most people never get past this point because extraterrestrials and interdimensionals they're all really all interdimensionals. The government's pretty much admitting this now, and I've always known this, that they're all interdimensionals. They're not from necessarily in our solar system. They're in a range or visual range that we visually can't see in our 3D realm. So anyway, the frequency exchange is what's incredible. And because of them being telepathic, okay, not only do they know what we're thinking, but what we're feeling. They feel it 10-fold the amount. They do not prefer this type of emotion, or they do not like fear. They do not like anxiety or any negative aspect, because in their reality, they are billion years ahead of us in evolution. Those emotions and feelings and negativity, anger, fear, etc., do not exist.
I see. They've
And them
moved
being
beyond
very
that.
positive, benevolent beings, yeah, they're beyond that. And they will tap you on the head and black us out. And that is why so many humans talk about missing time or fragmented memories, is because they are there on a purpose, their agenda, their task. They're not there to negotiate or try to have a psychology conversation with the human being. They're there for a reason, so they will simply tap the human being out. So that will calm you down. You still go through the experience, but at whatever level that they black you out is, it could be fragmented that you have some memories, or it could be a total blackout, so you will not remember. And, have to keep in mind that most people become aggressive when they're like in extreme fear. You want to either flight, meaning run, or you want to fight. So it's also a way that they protect themselves from an aggressive human being. And for the experiencer, it simply calms us down, and because we're going to be going through the process anyway, so they make it adaptable to where it benefits both parties. So that's why I say I think most people have no understanding of the experience. I'm not saying that they're not telling the truth or that their perception is wrong. What I'm saying is fear is very real. I've experienced it. It's very real. But it does change the interaction between what the experience is. So what happens is when people wake up, the last thing they remember is extreme fear, which is real. But they also realize they have missing time or bits of memory they can't remember. Our brains will try to fill in these gaps,
Mm.
and it uses whatever our belief system is, whatever has influenced us, whatever's in our mind. It goes and pulls from that knowledge bank and perceives your interaction with the extraterrestrials, interdimensionals in that fashion, because our brain tries to rationalize our experience, our contact, because this is not a normal occurrence in an everyday human life. So, and people do the best they can. And, but the reality of it is due to our programming, we were, in a world where 3D realm is full of negative aspects. So fear is not uncommon to us. Things seem like a predator to us because we don't understand, or it's bigger, or whatever reason. So that's part of the reason why they are here now in great numbers, is because it's time for humanity to wake up. And that's why we're part of the reason why we're going through this ascension and this evolutionary process that we're in, because it's time for us to reach higher levels of consciousness, higher dimensions, get out of this 3D negative realm that we're in. This is a realm where all negativity and wars can occur. And it's also a place where the elite dark forces can control and manipulate us because they keep us dumbed down at a lower consciousness. They cannot make money off of intelligent, healthy human beings. So they control our world. They put toxins in our food, our water, our air. They keep us dependent upon pharmaceutical synthetic drugs that our body does not always jive with. You know, um, so many things have been done. All of our television stations are owned by these dark forces that put negativity in there because they always want to keep humanity separated. Not only it's been going on for eons and eons. This is not just something in our generation, but like separation of languages, separation of country, separations, saying we're different because in their perspective, and when we were created, we are all one.
Right.
We are all connected. And throughout this programming, we have been divided and separated, which keeps humans against each other, keep humans at odds. So we have the racism, we have religious division, all these different divisions, because it's done intentionally to keep us from bonding together and uniting as one. So we have to go through this evolution in this process, because not only we're at a point where our technology, if left in the wrong hands, could destroy our civilization or make us go backwards in our evolution time frame. We could, be regressed into having to live in old ways, from our abuse and destruction among humans. So this is why they are here. They're watching us, and they're here in great numbers. And there's many, many of them here. And they're putting in frequencies of love, unity, hoping that we figure this all out and get it right. And the way they explain it to me is that it will not be something that happens overnight. It has to be done in a slow, divine way, because if it's done too fast, it would overload the human brain and people would flip out and act erratically. So it has to be done in this beautiful divine way, just like in our creation. It has to be done because this is a worldwide phenomenon. This is about all of humanity. So some of us will wake up sooner than others, but this is about everybody. Nobody's getting left behind. So as we ascend, our awareness, our intelligence, our visual range even will start to increase. And this is a slow process, but interdimensionals and extraterrestrials are not hiding from us. They're all over our skies in our solar system. We simply can't see it with our 3D range. We use only our 5 senses to understand our 3D realm. That's what our ability or limited to. But there's life going on all around us that is out of our visual range. So we are evolving. We are changing. We're going to start seeing more, experiencing more. But it has to be done in this very slow process so we don't get overwhelmed. Does that makes any sense to you?
Nancy, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It is. Yes. Well, they've been preparing me for this for 64 years.
That's amazing.
And they don't waste their time.
Well, it's interesting to me that not malevolent, no feelings of ill will your entire life of these contact moments and whatnot and interactions. I think that's good. I think that's good. Usually you don't always hear that.
Exactly. That's why I'm here.
I
am
think
here
that's
to
great.
correct this information.
Now, let me ask you this. I do have a couple questions, and
Sure.
From your experience, and again, I'm just trying to think of the proper way to. Are there multiple factions of them? Are they all the same group that have been contacting you, or that you're aware of?
No. Oh, I'm very aware of all of them. Where they take me is to a mothership. And on that mothership, there are the interdimensionals, which are 8 foot tall, and they are kind of opalescent, opaquish,
Wow.
a bit like what was described in biblical times as the shiny ones.
Okay.
They are the interdimensionals. And then there's tall grays, and there's many different kinds of grays. There's over 60 different races of grays.
Wow.
They're all in different colors, different heights, and have different facial features. There's reptilians, there's humanoids of many different races, Arturian, Nordic, etc., etc. There's aquatic beings. There's even beings there that we don't even have names for. And I want people to understand, they do not go by the names that we label them as.
Right.
And they do not go by names. They are telepathic. They all have a frequency. Their frequency is who they are. Frequency is like a signature. We all have our own frequency. That's how they find me wherever I am in the world. I've lived in Hawaii. I live in Mississippi now. I've lived in Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama. I've lived in Australia, New Zealand, wherever I am. They find me through my frequency. So people think you hear all these crazy exotic stories because in the human mind, we try to rationalize, we try to humanize it.
Make sense of the senseless.
I'm not saying it, yes, but that doesn't mean it's real or right or actually the reality of the situation. So, so that's basically what they have. I don't like the word groom, but they have prepared me for all my life is to be able to speak to the world and let them know the actual truths or what their true messages are, why they're here now, the significance of it, and what our interactions that were misunderstood in the past, what they mean. Because a lot of people talk about abductors, and they've explained pretty much all of that to me as well. So I'm very fortunate that I have an understanding and that I have experienced pretty much every aspect, the fear, the dread, and then I've experienced the love, the truth, the real total conscious experience, And they gave me a Kundalini awakening a little over 2 years ago.
Really?
And that sealed the deal. It scared me to death. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't prepared for it. I was asleep and it woke me up. and it frightened me to death. I did not even talk about it for a whole month. And then later I mentioned it to my oldest son, and he has the full experiences and contacts and downloads. And and I found out he had the Kundalini awakening too, but he wasn't going to tell me, but I brought it up.
So it
And
is
so
passed on.
both of my children,
This calling card, so to speak, has passed on to your son as well. That's got to
well,
be reassuring.
when I was, oh yeah, and we need each other for support,
Mhm.
because the world around us still, there's people that say, "Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're smoking dope. Oh, what
Right,
Kool-Aid are you drinking?"
right, right.
We are prepared, and we have each other's strength because we're strong in numbers, just like humanity is strong in numbers. This was done intentional by the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials because they knew what this was going to be like for us. So when they were when I was around 30, they were little boys. I have two sons.
Mhm.
I witnessed their first contact. C- You know, I've always had the ability to know when they're coming. And I woke up and then they manifest in the room, but these are not the three that
That you're
come for
familiar
me.
with. Okay.
They always Oh yeah, they send three grays for me. One is a female, and I am bonded with her, and she's reddish brown, about 4 foot tall, and she is a hybrid that the tall grays and interdimensionals created because they do not like the density. Well, the extraterrestrials and interdimensionals do not like the density here on Earth, so they tweaked in this hybrid's DNA so that they can do the back and forth legwork because
Gotcha.
they can come in without all that,
Sure. Makes sense.
But that particular yeah, but that particular time, this was not my 3, and I've come to find out I always have the same 3. But anyway,
Mhm.
the 3 that came for my children were little short, 3 foot, and they were gray, and they had on high collars and robes. And when they saw me, excuse me, sitting up in the bed, one approached me, pressed me down on this side of my shoulder, and said telepathically said, "This is not about you."
Mhm.
So as I'm laying there and I'm thinking, "Oh no." And they put me in a sleep paralysis, wide awake, but I could not speak or move. So I could not get reach and touch my ex-husband.
Mhm.
And the children were in the same room. We were at a hotel at the Marriott Hotel on Key West on the beach. They were in the bed across from us there, and they start to walk over and they get them out of the bed, my two sons, and walk them across the room. And then they black me out as they exit. So the next morning I wake up and they're perfectly fine in their bed. And I asked them, and I talked it over with my husband, and we decided that rather than go in detail, we would just ask them if they had any strange dreams or any occurrences. And we did, and they said no. So we left it alone. But when I got home, I was very upset. I felt helpless. I felt anger, a lot of hostility, because that was the first time I realized this was my children, not
Right.
just me. And that's a whole different ballgame when it's your children.
Well,
So
a
I
whole another
meditated.
program starts then. That whole, the mama bear
Yeah,
program. Nobody messes with the cubs.
exactly. So, yeah. So I meditated and asked for them to come and explain to me, why me? Why my children? What is the purpose? What is the meaning? And this is when I was 30 years old. And I'm not a person that claims that I can do anything extraordinary. I'm having a human experience just like everybody else. But they did come at their own time. And it was the 3 that I'm familiar with, the female gray. And she took me to a craft where I was introduced to a group of elders or accounts of many interdimensional different races of people. And I
Mm.
asked them, they presented me, and I asked them, why me? What does this mean? Et cetera, et cetera. And they told me that before coming to Earth, that I had made an agreement to be part of the evolutionary process and help humanity in their evolutionary process to understand we're not alone in the universe, to understand the truths and to help people to bridge the gap between
Huh.
our earth realm and the cosmic realm.
Right.
So when I was 30, I was shaking my head. So they took a blue orb and they told me, this blue orb represents who you are. This blue orb is a combination of an essence of me. And they opened it up and they showed me a vision of myself as an interdimensional being, agreeing to come to Earth and do this. And apparently, so did my children, because we all come from the same place and we're all here to support and assist each other. And, I'm quite older, so I'm sure their purpose is to probably follow in my footsteps, and also to help support me with
Hmm.
with my mission, which is their mission. And they are 100% on board. It's amazing. It's beautiful. But when I was their age, they're now 37 and 42. When I was their age, I had nobody to talk to. But now they're at an age where they're fully acceptable of all this. And the oldest one has
Oh,
just the same amount of experiences and contacts and stuff as I do. And the younger one is getting there. He's putting his foot in the pond, so to speak. He's definitely an experiencer, contactee. So
amazing.
it's a strange thing, but it is what it is. There's no way to sugarcoat it or whatever. But
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So in your travels and what have you, there came a point, I'm assuming, where you were meeting other people with similar experiences, perhaps, and you said, "Hey, the internet's here. Let's start a website." Is that how that came about, or were you basically using the website to support where you'd be speaking, appearing, things you were involved in, etc., or a little bit of both?
I think it was exactly 5 or 6 years ago that my son and I
Mm.
created the website. My son is the creator of it and pays for it. And um, this is a family effort. And this is sort of a way of doing what I'm supposed to do. And that was the first step, was creating the website and opening a forum for other experiences to interact. And from that led to the Facebook group, which is called, well, the website's timefordisclosure.com.
Mm.
The Facebook group is Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure. And I have a reason for that saying and what it means too, which we could talk about. But this has always been a family mission, a family effort, and it
That's
just gets
cool.
bigger and bigger. Once you get in this, there's no going back, and it just gets deeper, deeper, deeper. And once they gave us, at first didn't even have a Kundalini awakening. We were just like doing this on our own. But then, through our experiences, we started getting downloads. And for me, I kept questioning like where I was getting the information from. So I guess plus what was going on with our governments,
Mm.
around the world, congressional hearings and stuff, they decided to speed us up a bit and get us out there more. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting. I know when we first talked to each other via email, I believe you had mentioned Stephen Bassett, and great guy, very cool
Yes.
guy. And
Yes. Yes.
it's so interesting. I because I've been he's one of the people I've told that I've been so frustrated. We have these congressional hearings, we have the big hoopla and stuff that just seems to lead to well, yeah, there's something there. I guess that we can't explain what it is, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that's it. That's it, and that's my ire towards the government side of things. I have an equal. I'm like,
Well,
why are
I
people
can
not
explain
running in
that
the
to you if you want
streets?
to hear it.
You know? Yeah, I mean, uh, this seems like pretty big deal to me.
Yeah,
Pretty big news.
it
Uh,
is a very big deal. It is. But let me explain to you how their perspective and what they tell me.
mhm,
Because just like Steve Bassett, I'm basically doing the same thing, only attracting, reaching out to humanity.
mhm,
He's lobbying, trying to get government people on.
right.
I'm reaching out to the world. But he respects what I'm doing. He gave me his entire contact list so that anybody who's ever done an interview or a
Mhm.
television show, etc., he has gifted me a huge list because he's inspired by what I'm doing. And I'm very thankful to that man. Not anybody I know of has ever offered anything like that to me.
No, he's one of the cool
And
ones.
that is a humanitarian.
There,
That is a humanitarian for sure.
there are
But
some in
my
that
perspective,
world that aren't as cool as that. Let's just say that. Nice
well,
people,
yeah, they're in it for the wrong reason.
right? But
Yes, I know what you
he's
mean.
he's
I
not
know
one of
exactly
those.
what you mean.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And
No,
just like you, Nancy, you seem
yes,
like a good lady.
but
But I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. Well, from the way I see it is like what they say to me because, I get frustrated just like you do. Like, you know, and the different things I hear and the people's responses and it just seems like things stall. Okay. Well, here's what they say is that we are going through an evolutionary process here on Earth. Not only human beings, but our planet Earth.
Right.
Be patient. Let evolution
It's
run its course
it's so true.
because
That's
it
a big
has to be
problem.
done. I know, but it has to be done in a way that it reaches all of humanity. Nobody's getting left behind. And it's not about the governments. They could care less about what the governments say or do. It has to happen with us human beings because here's the point. As we reach higher levels of consciousness, it will not matter. We will already know the answers to the questions we want. We will know because that is part of our evolutionary process. It will not matter. And here's how the government looks at this. They know probably what I know that why run out here and freak the people out that aren't ready to hear all this? Yes, some of us are, but not all of humanity. So they're doing what they tell me, be patient, because most of the information will become known through our evolutionary process in a sense. So they're biding their time. And they're also hoping that the James Webb Telescope will actually find something and can announce to the world, we have found life. We have found a civilization.
Here's the
That is
city.
another way
Right.
that it's a great way to get the world acclimated for all this. Okay. Because it's not right here around us. It's over there. And so people are like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like a little stepping stone.
Uh,
But the actual reality is they are here and they're all around us. And we're talking about many, many different races because this is just as big to them as it is to Earth, but only it's bigger to them because they've been waiting on this forever for us to reach this frequency. Our frequencies are raising and they can see our frequencies, about the whole frequency of the whole planet. And they know we're on the verge of something big here and they are here to witness it. Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, it was Nikolai Tesla, I believe, who said, if you want to understand the universe, look towards vibrations. That's the key. Um,
Things about frequency, vibrations, and consciousness, and from my experiences and everything they've shown me, for you and I, we are having a conversation on our technology.
right.
Our technology is a separate entity. It's something we have to carry and tote around to be able to use. in their reality, because they're billions of years ahead of us in evolution,
It's just
their consciousness is their technology.
right. It's like
They
an
don't
arm or
carry it
something.
around like a separate entity. They can manifest what they want.
Amazing.
And I asked them, yeah, and I asked them, why do the interdimensionals look different from like the grays or it's because they are of a higher frequency and they're a higher frequency, a higher they're even higher up on the evolutionary scale. And the way they explained it to me is that if they were to teleport you and me back in the biblical days, but we go in like we are right now at our level of evolution, our level of consciousness, our frequency, and they teleport us and we walk out in front of those people at their level of that time of consciousness and understanding, we would be the shining ones to them.
It's true. That's that's very true.
Yep.
And you can.
Yeah. So,
It's amazing, and you.
we're basically just,
Oh no, I was just
you're thinking about this.
I am. The gears are turning. Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah.
They're like, what did Jamie freeze up? No, Jamie's thinking about stuff and having ideas that are leading to other
So
ideas.
the way that I perceive that, the way I see it, we are going up a DNA ladder.
Mm,
As we go up this ladder, all aspects of negativity, warlike ways and stuff will start to fall off. They will no longer serve us, and we will recognize that it will no longer serve us, and we will evolve and change and become the version of ourselves that we were created to be. We were not created to be locked into this 3D realm and programmed by dark elites, human forces. That's not what we were designed for. So
oh, absolutely.
as we go up, things are going to change dramatically for us, but we've got to get out of this 3D low consciousness of being manipulated and controlled, because they do this intentionally because they cannot make money off of healthy, intelligent human beings. And it's also a way that they can control our population. We should be living much longer lifespans. Our human experience should be a beautiful experience. It is not at this point. And even though people don't realize it, we all made a choice to come here to Earth and be here at this momentous time on this planet. When we are born here, our memories of our soul past is erased, but we all chose to come here. We all came here for a purpose and a reason. The thing that we need to do is look within, understand ourselves from our soul self, not the person that the world around us has programmed us in.
Right.
Look within as our subconscious to open up into our human consciousness, work with us, because our world is changing. We are changing. And if we reach this level of consciousness and higher frequency, you will not care what the government says. You will know. Your subconscious knows everything. It knows why you came here. It knows what, whether you came here to play in this program or did you come here to create or end that program and start something beautiful for future generations. And I think we are the generation that is actually going to make a change in the course of the history of mankind. This is a big deal. This is the game changer opportunity that we have. And I think we're going to do it.
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Overnight.
Speaking of evolution and whatnot, one of the things that has always not bothered to eluded my understanding in human evolution is, human evolution has been happening a long time, and it was a big geologic chunk of time, 300,000-400,000 years that early man just hung out, kind of hunted, did this, did that.
Yeah.
hung out. And then what about, I don't know, 8,000 years ago, something like that, maybe 10? Something changed, and all of a sudden
Yes.
it's like, okay, we got to do agriculture, we got to build
Yeah.
cities, we got to do this, we need an army, we need that. How are we going to control these people? Let's do some religion. And, but really, in the last, it's really been what, 4 or 5 thousand years that, and people are like, yeah, it's 5,000 years, Jamie, that's a long time. Not when you compare it to 500,000 years. You know what I mean? It's really not.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
we've like
Yeah. It's
here
a
we
very
are
short period of time.
talking to each other real time. Um, you know,
Yeah.
we're not even getting charged a phone call on this deal. I have to pay for the
Right.
software, but in the last five, from people beating rocks with sticks in 5,000, hey, I invented fire. Great. Um, Here we are, I have
Exactly.
my brother-in-law's father, who's an elder man. Um, he was visiting last Christmas. The whole family gets together, and he was telling.
Yeah.
He's at that age where he has amazing medical stories. He just every time I see the guy, he's got a new medical story, and it's fascinating. But his latest thing
Yeah.
is he had an arrhythmia or something on his heart, something pretty serious, and they hooked in a pacemaker and all this and that. And he has their doctor, his doctor, that people who monitor, and it's monitored, is in Boston. He lives in northern Michigan, comes down here for Christmas, but I'm sure there's an AI program or something keeping an eye on that. Hey, it's getting elevated, better
Yeah.
alert somebody. And I'm just like, wow, that's an amazing piece of technology. That's an amazing thing. It saves his life.
Right.
An important piece of technology.
Yeah.
And you know 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. That's 20 years ago.
Exactly.
The people's smartphones that
Yeah.
everybody has. I'm old enough to remember when those hit the market, and that was 2007. That wasn't that long ago. We all thought we
I
were cool
know.
with flip phones.
Rapidly things are rapidly happening
Oh,
now.
it's amazing.
Technology is wow.
And so what that leads
Yeah.
me to wonder is exactly what Nancy's talking about. Are these, little nudges here and there, maybe, in preparing people for, oh yeah, having that phone and all of human knowledge on you all the time? That's great. Wouldn't it be great if you just had that in your head and you didn't have to even charge a phone or carry one around? You just, it's maybe, are we being prepared? It's certain. I don't know. I don't have the inside information like Nancy has, and I'm not judging Nancy. I don't judge anybody. But it just doesn't seem too far of a stretch that something might be leading all of this. I mean, I don't. Nobody's personally come to visit me that I'm aware of. Perhaps they have in dreams. Perhaps,
Yeah.
I did meet a really interesting, strange lady with great legs one time at a bar, who told me she was out of this world. Maybe she was, maybe she. No, I'm teasing. I'm
Yeah.
joking around. But I'm just saying that I'm aware of.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah.
You never know. And,
You're right.
you know, uh, you just don't. Um, Believe me, I work in the art world. I have met some strange characters, but
Yeah.
that's full of them. Matter of fact, it's a detriment if you aren't a strange character in that world. It's kind of required. But
Yeah.
no, this is fascinating to me. It seems like it,
It's
it
absolutely
makes
fascinating.
sense to me. Is all I'm saying. That maybe there are little
Yeah.
nudges and hey, check this out, or you might want to look over here, and let's get a move on. And the thing is, because it's happening quickly, it's happening quickly.
It is.
And, people are always like, well, not really. I'm like, really? 1903, the Wright brothers make a powered glider. 66 years later, we're walking on the moon, man. That seems like a pretty big
Yeah.
jump in 66 years. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it's
we gained a lot of technology from the 47 Roswell crash. People don't
oh
even
yeah,
realize, how much technology we have. We'll never be able to fly that craft, or even if we recreate it, we won't be able to fly that craft because their craft are living conscious beings. Their pilots, the pilot, male or female, who is genetically designed to be the pilot, and they are bonded. Pilot and the craft are bonded. Nobody else can fly that plane, but whoever is bonded with it, and they
man,
use their consciousness. The pilot thinks destination, and their consciousness link up telepathically, and bam, they go. They do not use any of our physics, any of our technology,
tools.
or any of
Yeah, and they
fuels
wouldn't
or
need to.
propulsions.
They wouldn't need to.
No,
I mean,
they
think
don't.
about how clunky.
Yeah.
Just when you're driving your car, a car is a good example. A car is a great example.
Mm,
And you want to turn right,
yeah.
and everybody's like, "Yeah, big deal. You turn the steering." Well, first you have to make a steering wheel. Then you got to make that steering linkage, let alone the car and all the gizmos and doodads
It's,
in that. Then you got to power it, make it move. I mean, there's a lot of engineering in turning right in a car. Wouldn't it be so much
a
easier
lot of labor. Yeah.
to have have some sort of system or whatever, a bonding system, if you will, where you go, yeah, I want to turn right, and the car turns right. It cuts out. It's
Yeah.
much more efficient, um, and uh, water will find its level. Efficiency in nature, at least in the nature we know, seems to be the rule of thumb. Nature doesn't like to overcomplicate things if it can help it. Um, there's a lot of light in this part of the forest. Well, you're going to get more trees there. It's efficient. Um, it, it, so yeah, this makes it's fascinating to me. Fascinating to me. Now, Nancy, we mentioned the
Yeah.
website,
Well,
and I want to mention again, and we
yes.
we have a link for those watching this. For those listening, go to timefordisclosure.com. That's what it is. For those watching this video, right there will be a link. Um, you can see it and you can click on the description. There'll be a link in the description and you can get there. Now, also, Nancy, like me, loves Facebook. I think Facebook's a great
Yeah.
tool. Um, yes, during the pandemic, I did find out some, you know, I have a crazy aunt that's very racist. I did not, wasn't aware of, but whatever. I hope she finds her higher frequency, and wish her well on that journey. She needs to, and she knows who she is. But the reason I'm bringing up Facebook is they also, Time for Disclosure, has a fantastic Facebook group. Um, it's very, very cool, and it's open, right? People can just join and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. And they're
It's open, and it's a good safe place for people to share their experiences, because sometimes people don't have anybody at home they can talk to.
right.
Some people are closed minded on these things. So it's a place for people to put their toes in the pond, and just see what they like. And there's many, many other groups that pertain to these things. And I think they're all pretty good about, uh, protecting the members of each group. And
Right,
so,
right.
but
Well, it's
yeah,
all
it's
positive.
beautiful.
I've briefly scrolled through. I joined it. Me and 20,000 other people, folks. So this ain't like there's six people.
Yeah.
There's a lot, but I've scrolled through here, and I
Yeah.
just quickly scrolled through. I'm doing it right now. Look, man, what is that behind that plane? That's got to be. That's weird. There's three of them. Um, but yeah, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. Look at this thing in Texas, and all kinds of interesting articles and essays written on here, and memes and all kinds of stuff. But the cool thing is, what I'm not seeing on this is a lot of negative stuff. No, you're wrong.
You will see no
Go
negative
suck an
stuff on
egg.
there.
Yeah, I don't see any of that. There's nothing negative on it. It's
Yeah.
everybody's. I don't know what this is. Anybody got any ideas? I read a very
Yeah.
good, interesting, I guess, post, I would call it an essay, that you had written, Nancy, about, you know, why there isn't more contact with these interdimensional beings and people. It was
Yeah.
fascinating.
I was referring to humanity. Yeah. Like why they don't land here, because some people ask me questions all the time. Why don't they just land and be done with it? But there's a whole reason for all that. And so I try to put it out there
They
for
never saw the
everybody,
movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. You don't want that big, what was his name, Gort? You don't want Gort coming out. Remember that laser he shot and melted them tanks?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That was bizarre.
after
Yeah.
they shot at him
Yeah.
first, mind you, I think Gort was the okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't the aggressor. Uh, and that's the other thing too is, you know, this fear of the unknown. People freak out. They get scared when they don't
Yeah.
understand something.
Fear was put there to keep us from, uh, to keep the vision, to
Mhm.
keep the vision, to help us be afraid of their benevolence, to be afraid of who they are. And they talked to me and my son, but to me, about AI
Mhm.
and how it should be used and how it can benefit humanity. They do not. They do, they are biological and they are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. They are not AI. They are biological. And the way they explained it to me is that AI is a man-made tool, and we, with gaining our higher level of intelligence, will learn to keep it as a man-made tool. We have to get away from this controlled 3D realm, because if the wrong people get control of this technology, which they've been sitting on a lot of technology for many, many years, we should have no poverty. We should have no diseases. We should have not be paying for energy or yeah, energy.
Mhm.
You know, all these things. We should not be using pharmaceutical drugs. There's cures for a lot of things, but they do. This has been done and intentionally to prevent us from becoming more intelligent, prevent us from becoming healthy. So the way that they explain it to me, and they show me visions, is that AI can be used. It will not take away all jobs. It will create new creative jobs that we've never even thought of. And that the visions they showed me was that because of the way that we will use AI, because it will manufacture and produce most of what humanity needs, and it will be a give and share type thing. And people will not call jobs. They will call it service to self, service to family, service to community. So you're still interactive, but a lot less hours, and will be more devoted to family time, is the way the visions they show me, and how
Absolutely.
AI will create the betterment of humanity. It is we have to get out of this negative 3D realm where these controlling elites have control of everything. You know,
I'm telling
they
you.
told me we should not be using pharmaceutical synthetic drugs. When we were created, everything that we ever needed was placed here on earth by mineral, plant, flower, tree, whatever, for any health issues that we should ever have, anything that we should need. It should not have to be made by synthetic things, because there is a cure, a medicine, anything natural that is placed here on this planet for us.
Absolutely. I
And there's
tell people all
technology
the
being
time,
set on.
when they start going on about AI, first off, I do paintings and stuff, and that's what I do. And I mostly do commission work, but I'll paint stuff and put it up on eBay just to generate more interest and whatnot. There's an AI program that eBay
Yeah,
has that writes your description for you. And thank God there is. It frees me up.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I just hit the button and boom, it's done. It's great. But I tell people, I said, I want one of them Star Trek replicators. I want to walk over to the wall and say, yeah, I want a peanut butter
State.
parfait from Dairy Queen. And one appears.
Yeah,
You ain't going to get that without AI,
yeah,
is all I'm saying. Um, you know,
yeah.
so
I'd say that's more where we're headed. We're headed to that. It's never, I know they're trying the neural chips and stuff, but that is not anything in the visions that I've
No.
seen. They're not pushing that at all.
And it really, I think in
If
the end, I
anything,
think you're
the
right.
words,
In 500 years, we're going to look
yeah,
at AI the way we look at like a crowbar or something. We're like, yeah, it's great. A crowbar is great for getting
yeah, we will
nails out of
evolve
something.
past that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
Well, at some point, we'll probably become like them. We are the technology,
mhm. And
just
you
like
just
they are.
tell the nail to come out and it
And
comes out. Don't even need the crowbar at that point. You
yeah.
know, it's very true.
So the point is that if we want to be a civilization that carries on for billions of years, we have got to change and have a new way of thinking, a new way of living, and realize that things that were decided or chosen or programmed us in our past served its purpose. But this is a new time, a new generation, new ways of thinking, and new ways of living are necessary because at the rate we're at now, we're going to destroy ourselves. So we have to change and evolve. And that includes our way of thinking and living to
Absolutely.
be future generations. It has to happen.
I
It
don't.
has to happen.
I don't want to be
And
a.
it's at the right, beautiful time.
I don't want to be a downer.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. I About 20 years ago, actually, it was 2001. It was pre 9/11. I No, it was post 9/11 actually. Now that I think about it, I went to Asia for a month. I Things didn't work out with my ex-wife, and I was recently divorced, and I needed a change of scene. Sometimes a guy, or sometimes a person, I should say, just needs a change of scenery for a minute, catch their breath,
I understand. I did the same thing.
reorient,
I went to
say,
Australia.
yeah. What do they call it? Walkabout.
I did.
Very, very
Yeah, I went on a
needed
walkabout
sometimes.
for 5 years.
Yes, I went for a month, um, and then I got back and got
Yeah,
back to work. But I wanted to visit Asia. I always wanted to, and my ex wife just had
yeah.
no interest in that. I had a little bit of money, so I said, and I didn't go on a cruise or anything like that. I packed a backpack and I had another little bag and went and had adventures, met interesting
Yeah.
people. But in that month of travel, one of the places I visited was Nagasaki, and I saw and it's a terrible, terrible thing. And you will come away, if you've ever seen this, ladies and gentlemen, in person. They call it the atomic shadows, and these are shadows of children, of people, just regular people, that
Yeah.
when the bomb hit were burned into the concrete of walls and stuff. The shadow,
Oh, wow.
and that's
Wow.
pretty intense heat to burn a shadow into the concrete,
Yeah.
and they're still there. 70 years later, whatever. And you just think about that, and you think, yeah. When I saw that, I thought to myself, Nancy, no, again, who I don't know. I have not been fortunate enough to have the experiences you've had. Um, Not saying they didn't happen. I'm just saying personally for me. Um, but yeah, you think we got to do something different. This ain't cool,
Yeah.
for humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't be burning
Yeah.
people
This
into
is a
concrete.
warfighting for mine.
I mean,
That's
come on, we
terrible.
can do better than that.
Mhm.
And that's what
Exactly.
I'm saying. And the other thing I want to tell people is another story. When I was a little boy, my grandparents lived in Oklahoma. I would go once a year from the summer. They had a big farm, a ranch, and I'd go down there, um, and they were very Cherokee, much more so than my father. He was of that generation that kind of pushed that away, so to speak. And we saw this crazy old Indian. Me and my grandfather were in town, Tahlequah, and there was a guy, and he obviously had some sort of issue, and he was talking to somebody, and I remember being a little boy, and I was told my grandfather, I said, he's talking to somebody who ain't there, man. What is up with that? he's got to be crazy. And my grandfather just stopped and he looked at me kind of shocked and surprised. And he said, just because you can't see them doesn't mean that they're not there. And then we went on with our day.
The extraterrestrials say to me.
And, I thought about that many times because in life you'll be waiting at a traffic light and you'll see some guy fighting invisible bees on the side of the road or something. And you're like, oh, that poor schmuck, man. Oh, geez. How do you know? Maybe to him, everybody has different perspectives. So
their perception is different.
Don't judge people. People is what I'm saying. And
no, you should never judge people.
Have an open mind on things. And, I used to make what I thought was a very funny joke. I have had friends, they're into conspiracies and stuff, and they would say, well, the government, blah, blah, blah. And I would go, oh, yeah, I've been to the post office. I can't see those guys all getting together, orchestrating some big government. The people at the DMV, you're telling me that they're going to...
They not like we trade Nissans.
Right, Are you kidding me? And that was very funny. And ha, ha, ha. And I felt very smug and very superior when I would say that joke. Yeah. And then the universe or whatever said, okay, Jamie, yeah, funny guy. Here's Edward Snowden. Turns out people are reading your emails and listening to your phone calls. And suddenly that joke wasn't as funny anymore. I was wrong on that joke. So I'm just saying, you never know about things. You
That's
just
true.
never know.
Well, I think a lot of us are born with these gifts, but the world around us says no, and our children display this. We don't want them to embarrass us, so we make them stop.
Right. Got to conform.
So I think we
got to conform.
Have gifts. Yeah.
And it's well, the cool thing, one of the cool things about doing the show here, Nancy, is I get to meet interesting people like yourself, make new friends. Like Steven. I get Steven's crazy emails every week. He's got, and I don't mean that in a bad way. If you're lucky enough to get emails from Steven, consider yourself very lucky. They're very interesting. But yeah, folks, I want you to go over, check out timefordisclosure.com. And, like I said, you're on Facebook anyway. Why not make it interesting? Join this group. It's, spice up your feed a little bit is all I'm saying. There's some cool, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. The first post that I look on here is a DJ who has posted a cool playlist on SoundCloud. I'm going to be listening to that. Time for disclosure. We have never been alone. We are the disclosure. And, Nancy ain't out here with a placard, a sign on the steps of, Capitol Hill or whatnot. She's bringing people together.
No, I'm
getting the word out.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just telling it like it is and speaking from my heart. And I think people certainly don't have to believe me or anybody. Everybody's here on their own spiritual path and need to make their own decisions that they're comfortable with. But they need to be open to the fact that our world is changing. We are changing and evolving. And I think, and this is why I truly say, humanity, we are the disclosure, because we are the ones that are waking up, understanding who we are, our true origins, and understanding the world around us better, and having more than just these five senses to understand. Our visual range, our intelligence, everything is expanding. So follow your heart, listen to, get in tune with your soul self that came here to change this planet.
Absolutely.
We all came here with a purpose, and I think it was to do this. And so that's why I like to say we are the disclosure. To heck with what anybody else, the government or anybody, we're going to figure this out on our own. And I think
that's the way it should be.
Brothers and sisters in the cosmic realm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We need to rely more on who we are and not on any government or politicians or anything.
Telling you.
Rely on our inner selves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's, and, just a little personal experience, folks. I'll tell you something about energies and attitudes and vibrations, if you will. Call it what you want. Um, when you're positive, I'll tell you a little thing I've learned. I'm in my 50s, and I've done and seen a lot of things over my I've lived fast. Let me put it that way, and hard. Um, One of the things I've gleaned, a little piece of wisdom for you, is like attracts like in the universe. If you're positive,
That's true.
positive stuff happens to you. If you focus on poop,
It's like a
well, a
magnet.
lot of poop's you're gonna find that, and
Yeah.
it just, and there's been so many times in my life, one time I was having a serious medical thing, and I was in a terrible mood, scared, afraid, fearful,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
pretty serious, and my surgeon, stopped in and we had a talk, and he said, well, first off, you need to change your attitude. If you're going to get through this,
Yes.
you got to have the right attitude to get through this. You got to look around and in your heart of
Exactly.
hearts say, I ain't dying here. This ain't my end. And
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's what we're saying too. Is be aware of your vibrations, and don't waste your time on negative stuff. That's all I don't. I'm not trying to be
Exactly.
preachy, folks. I'm just telling you what I've seen in the world. Um, you know, every miserable person I know has a lot of miserable stuff around them. And every real
Right. And a lot
happy
of medical
person,
symptoms.
yeah, they're just riddled.
Yeah.
It's like, man, what was this guy, Hitler, in his past life? I mean, geez Louise, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Um, I know I've never thought that about anybody, ladies, but I'm just saying, I, maybe he was on the staff or something. I don't know. I've met people like, and you don't want to hang out. I don't want to hang out with them because I'm like, I don't want any of that rubbing off on me.
No.
When the
No.
meteor falls
It
in your
brings your
face.
frequency down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, well, hey,
It's not fun feeling. It's not fun.
no. It's been fascinating talking to you and having you on. You are so cool.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I know it's time to end the show because my wife, God bless her, bought me, I said, I need a better coffee cup for when I do my shows. So she bought me this 55-gallon drum of a coffee cup. I put it on my head.
Oh my
Well, I have a
goodness.
big head, and that's a giant coffee cup. And she's like, yeah, you look like a pirate. I've got a thing on it. Anyway, so I fill this up. It takes half the pot of coffee, and I drink it through the show. And this is my little timer
Yeah.
because it's got about 2 more swallows in
Awesome.
it. And I said, okay, well then
Yeah.
I figure if a half a pot of coffee is probably a good barometer of time for people listening and watching and whatnot. But yeah, I want everybody to definitely check out the Facebook page and the website and whatnot. It's fascinating, and it's just really cool. Just really cool. And so is Nancy. So
Thank you.
yeah, I can't. And
Thank
I
you
see
very much.
you're on a podcast about what, 6 times a week, it looks like. You're a busy lady.
Yeah.
And you can keep up
Yeah.
with all that on the website, folks. It's all listed. It's all
Yeah.
listed.
I stay busy. I love it though. That's this is my mission, my sole purpose. I know who the real Nancy Thames is, not the Nancy the world has programmed, my inner soul self. And I came here to help humanity and to make the human experience a beautiful experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very
So
cool.
I'm very excited.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us. We will see you next time.
This has been pop art painter Jamie Roxx's Pop Roxx Radio Talk Show. It has been executive produced by Jamie Roxx, recorded at his studio in Deerfield Beach in South Florida. All rights reserved by Pop Roxx Limited.
Hannah Oli Pop Roxx Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Roxx Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hicks från Sverige och ni lyssnar till Pop Roxx Radio med Jamie Roxx.